Do you know that 3 a.m. feeling when you're staring at your ceiling and your brain is simultaneously planning to become a pastry chef, learn coding, write a novel, start a pottery business, and somehow master the ancient art of Japanese joinery? Yeah, that. Welcome to the curse of the modern Renaissance soul. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you to just pick one, because that's garbage advice. And you know it's garbage advice because you've tried it. You've tried picking the practical path. You tried being the responsible one. You picked the thing that made money, or made your parents nod approvingly, or made your LinkedIn profile look respectable. And somewhere around Tuesday afternoon while you were doing that thing, you felt it die. Not dramatically, not with a funeral, just a slow leak, like a balloon you didn't realize had a hole. Here's what nobody tells multi-passionate people. You're not broken, you're not scattered, you're not suffering from some kind of focus deficit disorder that needs medicating or manifesting away. You're experiencing what the Japanese call having too many hearts beating in one chest. And that sounds poetic until you're actually living it. Then it just feels like drowning in shallow water. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a software developer who made 6 figures. He was also a failed musician, a failed stand-up comedian, and a failed photographer, and a moderately successful amateur mycologist. That's mushroom hunting, for those of you who don't spend your weekends crawling through forests looking for fungi. Marcus came to me because he was 34 and convinced he was running out of time. He said, "I've got all these interests and none of them are going anywhere." Sound familiar? I asked him to show me his failures. He pulled out his phone, showed me his SoundCloud with 47 tracks. Each one had maybe 12 plays. 12. His comedy? He'd done maybe 6 open mics. Total. His photography? He'd posted consistently on Instagram for 3 months, then stopped when he didn't get validation. And the mushrooms? Well, the mushrooms were actually going great. He just didn't count them because they weren't serious. Here's the brutal truth about multi-passionate people. You're not failing because you have too many interests. You're failing because you're treating your interests like Tinder dates, swiping right on everything, committing to nothing, ghosting them the moment they require actual work. Marcus didn't have a focus problem. He had a depth problem. And more importantly, he had a meaning problem. He was collecting hobbies like Pokemon cards, hoping one would suddenly evolve into his life purpose. Spoiler alert, they don't evolve if you don't train them. Now let's talk about Ikigai. Not the cute Venn diagram you've seen on Instagram. Not the what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, four-circle nonsense that makes it look like you just need to find the magical intersection and boom, purpose achieved. Real Ikigai is messier. It's older. It comes from Okinawa, where people live longer than almost anywhere else on Earth. And originally, it wasn't about finding your one true calling. It was about finding your reason to get up in the morning. Your Iki, life. Your Gai, worth. Life's worth. Not life's single perfect career path. Not life's one true passion. Life's worth. Plural. Possibilities. The Okinawan fishermen who lived to be 100 didn't have one Ikigai. They had many. Fishing was one. Their community was another. Their morning tea ritual was another, their great-great-grandchildren were another. They weren't looking for the one thing. They were weaving a rope of many things, stronger together. So when I tell you that you can have multiple Ikigais, I'm not being nice. I'm being historically accurate. The question isn't which one. The question is, how do they connect? And that's where most multi-passionate people get stuck. Because they've been told their whole lives that they need to specialize, that jack of all trades is master of none. But here's the part they always leave off. A jack of all trades is master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. That second part, it matters. Let me introduce you to someone else. Her name's Yuki. Yuki was a nightmare on paper. She had a degree in biochemistry, she was a certified yoga instructor, she played competitive chess, she wrote poetry that she never showed anyone, and she had this weird obsession with vintage typewriters. If you met her at a party and asked, "So, what do you do?" she'd freeze, Because she didn't have an elevator pitch, she had an elevator novel. And nobody wants to hear a novel in an elevator. Yuki came to me convinced she had to kill off parts of herself to succeed. I need to pick, she said. I need to be a scientist or a yoga teacher. I need to be practical or creative. I need to choose. I asked her a question that changed everything. What if your biochemistry makes you a better yoga teacher? What if your chess strategy makes you a better scientist? What if your poetry makes you better at everything? She stared at me like I'd spoken in tongues, because nobody had ever suggested that her scattered interests weren't competing, they were compounding. Yuki didn't need to choose, she needed to alchemize, to turn her lead, her feeling of being too much, too scattered, too complicated, into gold. She started teaching yoga for scientists. Sounds like a niche, right? It was. A niche that paid her 6 figures within 2 years, because she wasn't just teaching downward dog to people in lab coats, she was teaching the scientific mind how to understand embodiment. She was translating between 2 worlds that desperately needed each other. Your different interests, they're not distractions, they're dictionaries. Each one teaches you a language, and when you speak multiple languages, you can translate between worlds that don't understand each other. That's where the real value lives, in the bridges, not the islands. Here's where I need to get real with you. And I mean really real, not motivational poster real, not you can do anything real. The kind of real that might sting a little. Having many interests doesn't automatically make you interesting. It doesn't automatically make you valuable. It doesn't automatically make you anything. What matters is what you do with the intersections. I know people with 20 interests who are boring as watching paint dry because they keep them separate, neat little boxes, never letting them touch, never letting them fight, never letting them make something new. And I know people with 3 interests who change the world because they let them collide, explosively, chaotically, beautifully. The writer who understands coding writes better about technology. The chef who understands psychology creates more meaningful dining experiences. The accountant who understands storytelling can explain numbers to humans instead of just other accountants. Your Ikigai isn't hiding in one of your interests. It's hiding in the spaces between them, in the chemical reactions that happen when they touch. So the question isn't which interest is my purpose. The question is, what do my interests create when they have a baby? And yeah, that metaphor is weird, but stay with me, because that baby, that weird, unexpected hybrid thing, that's your actual contribution. That's the thing only you can make. Not because you're special in some generic inspirational way, but because you're the only one with that specific combination of obsessions, experiences, and perspectives. Your mess is your fingerprint. Let me give you the actual process, not the theory, the dirt under your fingernails, wake up early, go to bed late process of finding your Ikigai when you have many interests. Step 1, inventory. Not mental inventory, physical inventory. Write down every interest you've had in the last 10 years, even the embarrassing ones, especially the embarrassing ones. That phase where you were really into competitive dog grooming, write it down. That summer you tried to become a sommelier, write it down. That week you were convinced you were going to start a podcast about medieval siege weapons. You know what to do. Now look at the list. Don't judge it, don't curate it. Just look. Step 2, look for the threads, not the obvious ones. Everyone can see, oh, I like creative things. Look for the weird ones, the patterns that don't make sense. Marcus, from earlier, when we looked at his list, we realized every single one of his interests involved transformation. Software, transforming code into function. Music, transforming emotion into sound. Comedy, transforming pain into laughter. Photography, transforming moments into permanence. Mushrooms, transforming decay into life. His Ikigai wasn't any of those things. His Ikigai was transformation itself. He became a consultant who helps companies transform their culture, using principles from mycology, using timing from comedy, using composition from photography, using logic from coding. He didn't pick one, he became the thing they all pointed to. Step 3, experiment at the edges. Don't dive deep into one interest, dive shallow into the spaces between 2. Take your weirdest combination, the one that makes you go, that doesn't make sense. Try it for 90 days. Not forever,
90 days. Long enough to get past the honeymoon phase, short enough that you can quit without shame if it doesn't work. Yuki's Yoga for Scientists, that started as a 90-day experiment. She was going to teach 3 classes. If nobody came, she'd have a funny story. If people came, she'd have data. Either way, she learned something. That's the secret.
Multi-passionate people think they need commitment. What they actually need is structured experimentation. Permission to try without marrying. Permission to fail without divorcing. Now let's talk about the fear, because I know you're feeling it. The fear that if you don't pick one thing, you'll never be great at anything. The fear that you're doomed to be mediocre at many things instead of excellent at one. The fear that everyone else has figured it out and you're falling behind. First, that fear is a liar. But it's a convincing liar because it's based on half-truths. Yes, if you never commit to anything, you'll never achieve mastery. But commitment doesn't mean exclusivity. It means depth. You can go deep in multiple areas. It just takes longer. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The world doesn't actually need more people who are excellent at one thing. We have plenty of those. The world desperately needs people who are very good at connecting multiple things. The generalist who can go deep enough in several areas to translate between specialists. That's rare. That's valuable. That's you. Second, you're not falling behind. The timeline you're comparing yourself to, it's fake. It's a social media highlight reel mixed with outdated industrial age thinking about careers. Your grandparents probably had one job for 40 years. Your parents probably had 3 jobs for 10 years each. You'll probably have multiple careers simultaneously. That's not failure. That's evolution. The economy is shifting toward portfolio careers, gig work, and hybrid roles faster than our psychology can keep up. So you're not behind, you're early. You're just early to a party that hasn't really started yet. And yeah, being early means you might feel awkward for a while, standing in an empty room with your weird combination of skills. But when the party fills up, you're the one who knows where everything is. You're the host. I need to warn you about something: the consumption trap. Multi-passionate people are particularly vulnerable to this because when you have many interests, you can spend your whole life consuming information about them without ever creating anything. Reading about writing without writing, watching videos about photography without shooting, taking courses about business without starting, researching mushrooms without ever going outside. It's comfortable, it's safe, it feels like progress, but it's just another form of hiding. Your brain will trick you into thinking that learning is doing, that preparation is action, that someday, when you know enough, you'll start. But here's the truth that hurts. You already know enough. Not everything, but enough. Enough to start. Enough to make something mediocre that you can improve. Enough to fail in an interesting way. The hungry ghosts in Buddhist mythology eat constantly, but can never be satisfied. Their mouths are too small, their necks too thin. That's what consumption without creation does to you. No matter how much you take in, you never feel full. You never feel real. Creation is what makes you solid. Even bad creation, especially bad creation, because bad creation is just good creation that hasn't been revised yet. So here's your homework. Not someday, now. Before this video ends, pick your weirdest interest combination, the one that makes you slightly embarrassed to say out loud, and make something with it. A blog post, a video, a coffee meeting with someone who works in that space, a terrible drawing, a worse poem, something that exists outside your head, something that other people can react to. Because your Ikigai isn't found in thinking, it's found in making, and then adjusting based on what happens when you make. So here we are, at the end of this journey. And if I've done my job, you don't feel fixed. You shouldn't feel fixed, because you're not broken. You feel seen. You feel named. You feel like maybe, just maybe, your too much is actually enough.
Your Ikigai isn't waiting for you to pick one interest and kill the others. It's waiting for you to weave them together, to stop apologizing for your complexity, to start charging for it. The world needs people who can hold multiple truths, who can translate between tribes, who can see patterns across domains. That's you. That's always been you. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become more fully yourself, more connected, more integrated, more brave about the intersections. So go, make your weird thing. Have your contradictory career. Be the person who says, actually, I do several things, and says it with pride. Not because you're indecisive, but because you're complex. And complexity in a world of algorithms and automation, that's the last truly human advantage. Your many interests aren't a problem to solve. They're a solution to offer. Now go offer it. The world is waiting, and it's more ready for you than you think.